So the next thing you need to do is to lay out the location of the various accessories. This is an ECZ01 or an SAE plug. It's a receptacle for battery tender or a trickle charger, and it goes over on this side. And then this is a trolling motor female, and it goes on this side right here. So you get fresh tape, make your marks. And typically what I do is I just center it up, and that's 2 3/8. So I mark it 1 inch and 3/16. And the hole is actually going to be 1 inch and 1/8. This is an exact 1 inch. Measured it with a caliper. And so, and it's got enough room on the back to cover the hole. And I typically make a gasket out of some gasket material to put behind it. And then I also have to notch for the spring where it touches the case so that it will sit down flat. Another thing that I do is I turn it over and I check where I'm going to put the holes to be sure that nothing is going to get in the way, and also that once this plate is back in position, that the places where I'm going to drill are not interfered with by this other edge over on this side. Something else that I do, need to finish laying it out, but one thing I do is I drill a small pilot hole instead of trying to start this bigger bit, because this can walk and put a ugly mark on the case. So I like to drill a pilot hole for that larger drill bit to find its way into, to mark the location. And we've got clearance over on this side. Don't want to get into these wires or anything. So measuring this, I want to find the center line. So it's kind of from one ridge to the other ridge, and that's 1, 2, and we'll call it 3/4. So that's 1 and 2 and 3/4. So it'd be 1 inch and 3/8 to the center. And that's 1 inch and 3/8, and that's 1 inch and 3/8. I'm going to move it over just a little bit, and then holding it right here so that it clears that edge right there. I'm going to mark the center about right there. So measure twice and drill it once. So that's 1 3/8 from this edge and 1 3/8 from this edge. And that's for this one, so I'm going to go with 1 1/8. All right, so there's the hole for the trolling motor plug. It's got a good fit. And this is the plug for the fish finder. Find out what I do with my little drill bit. There we go. So we're going to find the center line again. We know it's 1 3/8. 1 3/8 that way. And we just want to be sure that we clear everything underneath. I drill the pilot hole. I'll put these in so you can see what they're going to look like. So there's one. And there's the other one, and I still need to make the notch for the spring. Doesn't take much, but really stiff. Get a small, knot. Doesn't need much because the hole is 1 1/8 inches. So the spring really doesn't get into this very much at all. There, now it's sitting down really flush. I like that. Okay. Let's see. Atwood includes 2 black screws. And I found these packages are adult proof, so better, instead of trying to tear them, just go ahead and cut. It's the Atwood trolley motor receptacle. The screws are stainless steel, so they are not magnetic, which means they don't really stick to the screw tip. If I were doing this in an ammo box that was watertight, I would be concerned about putting a gasket under these. But this is the least likely place you're going to have water come in. So mostly what you want to do is just get them down good and tight. This is where his fish finder will plug in, and this is where his trolling motor will plug in. The next thing we want to do is we want to install a voltage meter so that he can see the charge on his battery, and once again, want to do a layout just to be sure we get it in the right place. I like to center things up so they're symmetrical and they look good. And it's a pin. So we'll come off of that edge, and that's about an inch and a half to the center. And I flip it over. So the voltage meter, just have to be careful. What I will do is I'll loosen this wire and I'll swing that clip around so that it's not in the way. And in fact, let me see. That might be the right. Nope, not the right size. Now I'm going to get back into these contacts again when I connect the ground wires and the hot wires to various locations. But for now, that's good enough, just to be sure that it's out. When I'm building my regular battery box using an ammo can, each of these components, this is a 1 inch, takes a 1 inch drill bit. This one takes 1 1/8 inches. This one I believe is 7/8. Yeah, 7/8. So in order to do this, some guys have even used an X-Acto knife to cut the holes, and which works, but you got to be real careful, and because in some cases you don't have a lot of clearance. So this one you've got a good, I would say 3/16 of an inch clearance. So okay, so I made a mistake. I used the wrong drill bit. I used the drill bit for this because it was laying here, and the fact was I needed a drill bit for this, which is a different size. So how do you fix something like that? It's not my first mistake. So, and I've done this before. Sometimes I change my mind as to where I want something, especially already got the hole drilled, but I decide I want to put something else there. So what I do is I use a step drill. So what you can do is use this. You got to go slow and be very careful. Watch out for your wires underneath. You go in. Okay, so now I've got it pretty close to the right size, and I'll show you what it leaves. It leaves an edge. So in this case, fortunately I have a good sharp pocket knife. So what I'm going to do is just go in and take that edge out and check it and be sure that I made the hole big enough. That sits down good and tight. So there's nothing holding it up. So what we'll do is we'll grab a ring and tighten the ring down on it. And then I take a pair of needle nose pliers and snug it a little bit. Don't want to do it too much because it will strip out that ring. Okay, so that's all the drilling that we need to do. And now we get to start the wiring.